All right. We're live.
Live in action. Action.
Right. I don't know. You never sure, huh? It's always weird. I feel like to start, it goes right on, and then end, you're just like, okay, bye, everybody.
Yeah, that long pause. What's going on, everybody? How are we doing today? Welcome to another episode of Cerebral Pundits. I am Casey Blueford, joined by Evita Miller. We are the host of this show for all of 0 people right now.
Right. That's okay.
But we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us at some point today or some point down the road.
In the
We're
future.
here to bring you some entertainment news, some current event news, and just news in general. Evita, what's going on? How are we doing today?
Doing good. Yeah. I'm like, and news too, just so you guys know, we're avoiding politics and stuff like that, by the
Yes,
way.
yes, 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 yes.
We're more current events, everything,
We lo-
business,
y-
things that could affect your business, personal development, things of that nature. If you're into that,
yes,
you're our people. So, but
we
yeah,
like all things current events, education, entertainment. I'll have to come up with like some form of like acronym or something like that. But like
yeah,
that's what we're in.
that's what we should do. Because I'm like, we are kind of a blend, There's a lot of
Yes,
stuff we touch on, but yeah, we just finished Easter weekend. How was your Easter weekend?
it was good. It was good. It was sat back the other night. We had events on Friday. We had events on Saturday. Events on Sunday, and
Oh
by the
wow,
time Sunday came, I was like, all right, I'm tired. I'm
like I
tired,
missed
and
it.
the whole concept was like, he, without getting too deep, is he is
Yeah.
risen,
Mhm.
right? But I wasn't rising up off that couch. I was done. I was done by Sunday afternoon. I was not rising up off of
Yeah.
anything at that point.
It's like, and also rest is key, so we can
Yes.
honor both. Yeah.
Also, I had jury duty yesterday, and yeah,
Wow.
jury duty. So thankfully, well, I don't know if this is a thankfully or not, but did not get chosen to be on part of the juror. So got my $20 of pay, and lost 8 hours of my day. So
But that's okay. You were a contributing citizen.
I was I did my civic duties.
Yes.
So
And
how about
missing
you?
today allows you to be here today, so we're grateful for
This
that.
is this is true. How was how was your Easter?
It was good. Same, yeah, same. The weekend just flies by. I'm like, I had
Yes.
a event on Friday. I worked, and we learned that it does indeed rain in Arizona. Fun fact for everyone.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it was a destination wedding, or this was part of the weekend festivities, and yeah, they took a chance for an outdoor event. It rained. So
That's
that
that's
was
tough.
I felt for them. But yeah, so just know if you're traveling from out of town, most of the time, yes, you can avoid it, but
Oh,
there is
the
a chance sometimes. Like when she hits good. So that's okay.
the
You learn
10
the power of
days.
teamwork. Yeah, learn the
The
power of
10
teamwork.
days of rain.
It was good. But yeah, no, Easter was good. We got to celebrate my little cousin's birthday, went all out for that. And then it was good. We had some extended family in town, and so they've got some little ones. So it was kind of fun. I got to help allegedly help the Easter Bunny hide some eggs and get to see them run around in the morning and do all of that. So it was fun. It kind of had that like Christmas morning spirit about it that I'm like,
Yeah, it did.
I get
It,
this.
it was yeah, it definitely did. It was one of those I was like, okay, this was probably one of the more funner Easters I've had in a little while, which is
Yeah,
nice.
I'd agree with that. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah, it was
something
fun.
about this year. So yeah, it started good. But let me ask you
Good.
this. You watched a movie recently.
Yes, I did, and I want to get into it a whole lot more than we have time for today. But I had called Avita the other day. Per you, she didn't answer, and then she texted me back. She's like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I just texted her the ticket. I was like, "I'm here." So I went to go see Sinners. Sinners by Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, which is an awesome, awesome, awesome movie. Highly recommend it. Great vibes, great storytelling, great plot, great footage. Honestly, it's one of the better movies I've seen in a while. For anyone like myself who is maybe kind of anti-horror films, that's not very horror film at all. Like you don't have to do this. Like you're perfectly fine. It was a great movie. So highly recommend. I'm hoping that maybe by the next time we talk, maybe you'll go see it. If not, sometime soon you can check it out.
Fair enough. I was saying,
I would
I'll
love
keep
to
it.
do I would love to do a full breakdown, but that will come for a later time.
You want to give us the highlights or things that you
Oh,
maybe liked about it, or maybe even were just surprised by?
Yeah, so without getting too nerdy into it, I was really surprised how much I liked the storyline, even though it's said that it's a vampire movie. It
Okay. I was
didn't.
gonna say, can you even explain that? Because other than the name, I don't even know that I'm familiar
Yeah,
with
so that it's that for those that are into like the horror space, one would say like it's a vampire movie,
Okay.
but the first 40 to 45 minutes, you kind of forget that it's even a vampire movie just because the storyline is so good, the music is so good, the concept of everything. And there's just a couple scenes, without giving it away, a couple scenes within the movie that are just very eye-opening and shocking. So
Mhm.
I'm
Okay.
I'm a huge Ryan Coogler fan, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. I am from Northern California as well. He went to Sacramento State and grew up in the north in the Bay Area. So, but all of his movies are good, right? Black Panther was good. Wakanda Forever was good. Fruitvale Station was good. The Creeds are good movies. So, huge fan. But I think this might be one of his best ones.
Oh wow. Okay. That
Yes,
was good though.
yes.
That's like we just want a brief overview. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. I'm
This
trying. Yeah,
was
I try to keep it brief. I would. Yeah. Eventually, we'll create a section of our podcast. I'll do like full breakdowns and stuff like that.
Oh, there you
But
go. Okay.
yes,
Cool.
yes, we'll get there. We'll get there. So,
Yes. All right.
um, that down. I do want to talk about something. So, what we're going to talk about today, we're actually going to break down the business aspect of one Ryan Reynolds. So Ryan Reynolds is probably A-list actor in this industry at this point.
Yeah.
Probably known for Deadpool more than anything right now, right?
Mm,
Would you say? Would you say like right now, like if you think Ryan Reynolds, would you probably think Deadpool
probably.
or
I mean,
maybe Mint Mobile commercials?
I was gonna say, I'm like, we are diving into the business side, but I do
Mm-hmm.
feel like he's done a good job. I mean, I would say
Mm-hmm.
right now, yeah, Deadpool or probably the Mint Mobile is what.
Or maybe an American Gin,
Yes.
or maybe a soccer team.
I
So
mean,
those are like
sure,
so,
I do know the gin. That's why I was like, but not as current. It hasn't been in my face, so like, it wouldn't be top of
so
mind maybe right now.
So for those that don't know who Ryan Reynolds is, so let's go ahead and break this down. So I'm
Hmm.
not going to give a full bio on the guy. That's for someone else to do on a longer channel. But I do want to highlight, some of his accolades, prior. Well, sorry, that most people will know. So he is Deadpool. He's the Deadpool 1, 2, and Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Yeah,
The movie Free Guy, the movie The Proposal, If. I think he got started way back in like Blade in like 2004, Just
yeah,
Friends in 2005. So he's been in the acting business for quite some time, and he's Green Lantern, for those inside joke for those actually who know Green Lantern. Um, but yeah, so he's been in the acting space now for over 20 plus years.
hmm,
Good actor, not great in my opinion. Funny, always been a funny character in all of his roles.
that's interesting.
Um, but the reason that we're going to talk about this today is because he's actually made a huge name for himself in the business space as well.
Yeah,
So, before I kind of get into details, do you like when I say Ryan Reynolds, what's the first thing that you think of?
I think what we just said. I mean, I do associate him with. There's several things he's been in. You know what I mean? Like you think that shows and movies are basically his acting probably first. Also, waiting. Just saying for my restaurant people
Uh,
out there, because that the more times you
okay,
watch it, the funnier it gets. Just
okay.
saying. So
Which honestly I feel like is like a lot of his stuff. Like the more you see it, like
yeah,
especially when he has like a larger speaking role, yeah.
yeah. That's what like he may. To your point, he may not be the best actor, but I also think he's just memorable because of the things he's in, because he makes you laugh. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
Deadpool, definitely not family friendly, but like hilarious
Very
nonetheless.
true.
But
Very
yeah, I mean,
true.
I also think when we were kind of looking up for this too, I'm like, he had the well, soccer or football, depending on where you're watching
Hmm.
it from.
Hmm.
He had the team for a bit too, and interest in that. And I
Yeah.
remember watching. I think they made it was
FX
FX or
series.
something.
That's on
Yeah,
FX. Hmm.
there was a series on that too, which I feel like is kind of key too when you start think. I'm gonna chime in. This is probably jumping ahead, but that's just me. But I think it goes to show too, like you can be multifaceted. And if you think about what he's doing, like he leveraged, okay, I have this face and brand, got into business or buy into
Pause.
whatever.
Pause. 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 We don't want to. Don't spoil it yet. Don't spoil it yet. because I want you to explain that. But let me kind of set up where he is now.
Okay.
So, um, the reason we're going to talk about this because this man has gone from just being known for being an actor
Mm-hmm.
to now being a businessman slash mogul. So
Yes.
let me just kind of go over some of his key business ventures. Now there might be more. There might be a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Um, so in 2018, he bought a stake in a company called Aviation Gin.
Mm-hmm.
He was a silent investor in that. In 2019, he bought Mint Mobile, which is a budget-friendly mobile carrier.
Yeah.
In 2018, he created his own marketing agency called Maximum Effort.
That was one I didn't know. I didn't realize he had that.
In 2020, him and his business partner purchased Wrexham AFC. So it is a English Premier Football soccer team. Purchased that. Some other investments are Wealth Simple. It's a Canadian online financial tool, a Canadian fintech company, Alpine F1, which is a Formula racing team.
He has a racing
And
team too.
he invested into Alpine F1,
Oh.
about 24% stake, and then 1Password, which is a password management tool.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
back to what you were saying.
Okay.
You were kind of digging into it a little bit. I think this is interesting because
Yeah.
he didn't necessarily buy these companies with the expectation like, yo, I'm going to put a ton of money into external marketing. I'm going to blow these things up.
Yeah.
It was actually the opposite. He leveraged his personal brand
Yes.
to increase the brand of the company. So to that you say,
Well, now I lost the train of thought. I'm just kidding.
oh, my bad. I cut you
I
off.
was
My bad.
fired up. I was
My bad.
ready to go. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think it is interesting because I think this does apply to a bit of where we're at and what we're building because I think it's one of those buzzwords, right? Like your personal brand and doing all those
Mhm.
things. But, we've touched on it a little bit before. And I think he's done a really good job of, and I don't know what kind of business sense he had prior, you know what I mean? Because just because we know him as an actor doesn't mean he
Mhm.
could have had
Sure.
family or a buddy that was in it or studied in college before this or something. So I don't know his background. Um, but I think from what we see it's like he dove into these things. And when you say personal brand, I mean, you just listed a number of different companies. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like when you think actor, I'm not thinking, oh, let me go buy a phone service from you. I'm not
Mhm.
thinking, oh, his password management system or liquor. I mean, he's got a very diverse amount of businesses that he's a part of. And I think this is important because as we're building things, yes, it isn't. And I'm preaching to myself, honestly, right now, because I'm like, it is important to focus and, what can you accomplish when you maybe have your thing or what do you want to be known by? But I think this is a great example of like, okay, he can be known as his main thing as an actor, but he can also start partaking in these things because now you don't label him as actor. You just go, that's Ryan Reynolds.
Mhm.
Depending on how you
Mhm.
know him, now he can get into these things. You know the face, you know the humor. There's his traits as a person are what's helping these businesses blow up. It's now helping him to build wealth and other things and to be involved in what he wants to be involved in because it's like he can promote that. Like he is
Yeah.
in that sense. And I think that's key of like we think that we have to be know these labels or be tied to, your career or whatever. And I think this is a great example of like once you build up and just literally be you, thinking of how you can leverage that.
Yeah, so that's good. So I think there's a couple things that I take away from this. So first and foremost, obviously we don't know the backstory. We don't know like everything that was going on. So maybe some of the minor businesses or whatnot. We know about the big stuff. So let me
Right.
preface it by saying that. Second, and looking at his filmography, like he's been acting since 2003, whether it was extras in the X Files or
Yeah.
some of the movies that we mentioned earlier. The Odyssey, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So he'd been doing things for like quite a long time. But the biggest thing was he focused, in my opinion, from my perspective, He focused
Mhm.
on doing the main thing first, right? And
Yes.
the main thing first was, I'm going to build a name and a reputation for myself in the acting space,
Yes.
right? That was first and foremost. Whether he had some other stuff going on, we don't know that, right? But we
Right.
know from a public figure standpoint, it was, hey, I'm going to focus on the main thing. I'm going to build my name for myself from there.
Yeah.
Then what he did is he leveraged that to get stake in multiple different facets. That's
Yeah.
number two. So it goes to show you, you don't need to have 100% ownership in every single thing. You just
No.
need a small stake, because
Absolutely.
that 30% that you purchase, you can still have direct impact.
Mhm.
So, prime example, what makes him unique? We talked about this before. He's very witty, he's very funny, and he brings that to the table. So, what did he do for all three of these? Well, all of these companies. He
Mhm.
brought himself his own personal brand to help grow and scale the company. So, when we talk about being authentic to yourself, that's
Yeah.
key. So, like, no one has the same attributes, the same skills, the same DNA as you. So when you
Absolutely.
talk about quote unquote in the business space, like, what is your superpower? Like, what makes you different and how could you leverage that?
Yeah.
And are you willing to put the time in to build it and grow it and then potentially being able to scale it? So
Absolutely.
those are some of the big things that I took away from this. So, he talks about the strategy that he used, because I want to get into like each different business and like how he kind of helped grow it. But buy, boost, and sell. That was his three-phase strategy. Buy,
Mm.
boost, and sell. Buy
Like
brands that have unique products and positioning. Elevate the brands with his unique marketing process.
mm,
Sell. Once a brand reaches a big valuation, he sells the brand.
that's
So
awesome.
from a business standpoint, it's very similar. You buy with a plan to exit as well. How could I
Okay.
buy this? How could I boost it? So we use the word scale, right? But in this sense, he's saying boost it. How could I buy it? How could I boost it? How could I sell it from a higher valuation? So
Absolutely.
I, that was his strategy that he took.
I like that.
Um,
So.
and then they talk about, let me see. Oh, what makes him unique is his authenticity,
Mm,
and that's what people love, and that's what people buy. So I think
yeah.
that kind of goes back to like what we're doing right now. Like, we're in a process of, whether it's revamping a podcast, whether it's, trying to figure out exactly what path to go on, whether it's, buying real estate, whether it's buying businesses. At the end of the day, like, we have to figure out what makes us what makes us the most authentic, and then how can we leverage that to, continue to go further.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like authenticity is just, it's so key because I think in reality, we're trying to find the thing and it may not be a specific job or a person, but it's more of learning to stay in tune with like, okay, what do you already know about yourself? And taking note as you go, like, having that awareness to check in and say, something doesn't feel right about this. Is this unsettling because it's new to me? Is this unsettling because maybe this is challenging one of your core beliefs or just doesn't feel right? You're kind of butting heads with people and it's like, man, we got along great, but now that we're in business, I don't know about this. Or maybe it's the product you're selling where you're like, I don't even know if I believe in this. Like, I don't know if I and I feel like the more we do
Hmm.
it, it's like that muscle you're building, right? To where I think that's where we begin to be able to make those quicker decisions. This is right for me. This is not. Rip the band-aid off, on to the next thing, because I think to your point, we are talking about all the successful ventures that he's had, but I'm sure behind the scenes, based on what we've learned from other successful folks in the business, there's probably a high chance, if not almost 100% chance, he's had numerous failed attempts at things too.
True,
That,
very true.
we're now seeing like, it's easy to think, oh, well, he had the money from acting, or oh, of course, but he's got this personality, or whatever it is. But the reality is, there's probably many things that, roles he didn't get, or businesses they didn't get, or failed, or whatever. And by him trying more and more and just being true to himself, it eventually just worked out. It was just a matter of time. So I think that's cool to see in this too. And remember.
Core skill. He points out his core skill. What do you think his core skill was or is?
Ooh.
What sets him apart?
Maybe leveraging like his charisma or his personality.
Which is true. His relatability, his humor is definitely one.
I'm
But
curious.
what sets him apart is his storytelling. It says every campaign is more than just a pitch, it's a narrative. He
Yeah.
creates emotional investment by making ads relatable, funny, or even heartwarming.
Yes.
He isn't just a businessman, he's a storyteller who makes every product, company, or business feel human. That's why his marketing works. It's real, it's emotional, it's unforgettable.
That makes sense to me because I was trying to
Mhm,
wrap up where I'm like, because when you see him, I was thinking charisma, but that makes
mhm,
more sense in how they articulated that. But in the sense that you're gonna laugh. You feel like in his commercials, he's
mhm.
literally talking to you, and it's not
Yes,
this like you see the car commercial and you're sitting there like, I don't need this car. Why are we driving around the mountains? Like, I don't even live near any mountains or whatever it is, or it's just very, sometimes they can be almost a little too distant, too
mhm.
futuristic. Where you feel like, yeah, but why would I need that? Or what does that have to do with me?
There's another thing I want to point out. I like this though. It talks about his two marketing strategies behind his marketing agency business.
Okay.
Authentic Reynolds creatives. Sorry, yeah, authentic Reynolds creatives. So he does his own creative, right? So like, right, he does his own authenticity.
Okay.
But here's the second one: attention arbitrage. So I was
Mm,
like, okay, I had to read that a couple times. Attention arbitrage. So here's what it talks about. It talks about um, it's about focusing on opportunities that they can get underpriced attention.
mm-hmm. Okay.
So, so in a sense, he's saying, okay, there's an opportunity here, there's a gap here. Let's focus on that.
I love that.
Let's build out this niche where there's an opportunity. So if everyone's doing this, I'm not to say I'm not going to do this. Maybe I do this, but maybe I do it this way, or maybe I do it in this lane. And I think
Mhm,
that's very relatable in the space that we're in right now. Is okay, like for example, I'm out here trying to buy more and more businesses.
mhm,
Okay, so I can go out and I can buy here or try to buy here, try to buy here, or I can
mhm,
say, you know what, I'm gonna do this one right now. Wait 6, 7 months, build this up, maybe a year, then try to go do this now. Or I can
and
buy, then build, then buy, then build. There's so many different ways to kind of do it. So nonetheless, like that, it's about finding the arbitrage and where could you create or generate attention to fill that void as well. So I really like that. I might actually steal that model, attention arbitrage. I like that.
interesting. What's funny? I'm like, this is where I think it's good because we always take different pieces. I was
Hmm.
looking at this when you said that of more because obviously I'm trying to, or not trying, I am studying marketing, content, things of that nature. When I started the transaction coordinator journey, whatever you want to call it, I feel like that was a huge thing that I was missing. Okay, what the heck? How do I put myself out there? How do I market? How do you do these things? And so that's something I'm still studying. And I feel like attention is so key, right? Because everything you're
Hmm.
on, if you're in person, how do I keep your attention? If you're online, how do I get somebody to not only
Hmm.
watch this, but keep watching it and things like that? And so I was actually looking at that and thinking more of the comparison of, okay, what are we doing that's paid? So say like in these big companies, and I haven't worked in one, but I'm assuming like, okay, you have a budget or these things. It's like, okay, that's great. But do we need to use the budget towards that? If you're somebody like
Hmm.
Ryan Reynolds, could he also just make a free post on his page or whatever, or on the company page, record himself, they post it for free, that goes viral, and you still get the attention that you desire, to where I
Hmm.
was, or like, we're posting on YouTube right now. I feel like for us, that is a free resource for us to put out not only what we're working on, but what we're learning and help others in a way that will continue to give, and it's free. People don't have to pay to look this up or any of that. It's available to them. So that's just kind of what I was thinking when you shared that. But I thought that was
I
a
like
good
I
yeah,
like that. I like that because we took one saying and we saw two different angles of it. I really like that.
yeah, that's a
Let's
good one.
let me jump in here. I want to break this down for a second.
Okay.
So, oh no, my Wi-Fi is acting up. Okay, if Wi-Fi starts acting up, just keep going. I'll figure it out.
That's right.
All right. So what he did, and I think this was smart because he had the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Maximum Effort, which is his brand that he put together, his agency in
Right.
2018. They do the ads for Mint Mobile. They do the ads for
Mhm.
Aviation Gin,
Smart.
and they might even do some ads for his Wrexham AFC soccer team. So to your point, he's leveraging what he's already good at. I mean, why not create an agency, get paid for what I'm already doing, right? It's almost like duplicating the effort, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Why not get paid for what I'm already doing? So in a
Yes.
sense, he can make a post from his agency now,
Yeah.
get that same amount of money coming in that he would from paying a marketing agency. So I
That's
can't find the article, but Deadpool, like the very first Deadpool,
right.
like it made so much money, but a lot of the promotional was not necessarily Disney or Marvel, but at the
It was
time it was Fox. It was him, right?
mm,
So that's why that was $1 billion movie that had
yeah,
no reason to be $1 billion movie, but it was because of him. It
that's
was because of
interesting.
the yeah.
That's interesting because when you talk about, we talked about a while back, maybe not on here, but especially where you're doing the business buying, and
Hmm.
we talk with Cody Sanchez's book, and she talks about like what are you already using, what's already in your realm, like what do you know mixed with and something like that. And I think this goes hand in hand with that of like I'm
Hmm.
already going to be using a marketing company. Now, maybe he didn't have the expertise in that. Maybe he did or didn't. But to go, okay, well, I'm already paying for this service, literally for
Hmm.
everything and for multiple
Yeah,
things. Why not, even at that point, if he broke even, you're still saving money because you're just basically just paying yourself.
keep
You
it in
know,
house.
hey,
Keep it
you
in
made
house.
profit or sell it eventually. Now you for sure made profit. And I just think that's so smart of like, I think we could all learn from that. And not that everybody needs to buy a business, but it's just like, okay, when we're making investments, that might open our minds to something that's, right under our nose that we wouldn't necessarily think about.
Think about it. It's very relatable to what we're doing. Say you own a short-term rental company.
Yeah,
Well, if you have your own cleaning company, would you just bring your own cleaning company, right? If
exactly.
you have your own, lawn care company, would you just hire your own lawn care company, right? So it's the same type of
Yeah,
thing, obviously just at a larger scale.
absolutely.
So Aviation American Gin, which he bought a stake for in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
um, he became the face of the brand. And what happens when he became the face of the brand? Numbers shot up. He sold it in 2020, and the deal included, yeah, he sold it for $610 million.
That's
The
wild.
deal included 335 million upfront and potential future payouts based on performance.
Wow.
Okay, Mint Mobile,
Awesome.
which he brought in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
it was bought by T-Mobile in 2023 for a shocking $1.35 billion.
It's hard to even fathom that amount.
Maximum Effort, his agency, we talked about that. Wrexham AFC was the soccer team. He did a whole FX TV show. Talk
Yeah.
about marketing
Yes.
based on, because it was one of those, I didn't even know he had a real, I thought it was fake. I didn't realize he really owned the team.
No,
So
that's what I was gonna say earlier too. I know we had to wait. I had to wait till we got here, but I'm like, I think this is something we can learn too. When they, it's that um, kill two birds with one stone or more if you can. Not in the literal sense, but in the sense of like maximizing what you're doing. So you invest in the football club, soccer team, depending on where you're at.
mhm,
You
mhm,
invest in this team. There's one thing. Okay, now you can be the brand. Great. Now you're leveraging your own marketing agency to use it. And like there's so many layers to this. Oh, we want to make a show. Well, guess what? The show is going to bring awareness to the football club so that they do
mhm.
better. Also, I'm sure there was some sort of structure to help him there. And it's putting out his name and brand to even give people like, ooh, he's now associated with that too. And it just, I don't know, I'm like seeing the layers of
So
how
many layers.
do.
So
It's
many
like
layers.
just doing for him. It's like, oh, I just went to the place and recorded, but in that one meeting or whatever, we go to the stadium. You just knocked out handling a business, making a show, promoting your agency, or whatever it is. While you're
Mhm.
there, you bring up, hey, do you have a gin? Yep, you just promoted that too. I mean, I think that's really smart too. Is we start to look at these successful people and how they leverage their time. Like we look at
Mhm.
it as like, how are you doing all these things? But also, like I said, he's got partial stakes and things like that, which I think are important too. That it's not you as an individual having to run or do everything. you could make things that, okay, maybe one business takes 50% of your time, but another one you're a silent partner and only have 15%. Well, 15% is something that doesn't take as much time. Not a bad deal.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. I mean, we're gonna pause here, but we can really go into this all day because I love the concept of layering. I love the strategy behind this, and safe to say, like this is the template. This is the blueprint, right? Yes, he's a celebrity. He's an A-list celebrity. He's a billionaire at this point. Not necessarily, you don't necessarily have to follow him specifically, but he's showing you the game plan. He's showing you how to do it, even at the level that we are right now.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe we take a little bit longer. Maybe we require more partners because financially we can't just put all our money in this, that, and the other. But long story short, we're able to do the same type of things, at our level.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's all about understanding the foundation too, right? Like, okay, are we going to suddenly make, $2 billion off something to start out with? The odds are not high. No.
The odds are not in your favor.
But the odds are not in your favor for that. But I do think if we learn from this, and like here, we've chosen to, okay, we want to learn and discuss this. How could we help somebody else? Okay, we're willing to get a little uncomfortable. Let's record it and put it out on YouTube. Okay, let's, now we're learning about business, helping each other and creating some content as well and helping others. We do this, or with each of our transactions, if we start to think this way, I mean, it's more of like, okay, if you can turn that dollar into two and then go do it again. And I feel like that's how we get to that level. Because with him, it's like, it sounds like a lot of money, but it's like, okay, well, if you put in several million to then get back that and some, okay, well, if we maybe we start with, $100 into something. But if we're learning how the foundation of this works, I feel like that's how all of a sudden those investments compound. Your experience now is growing, and then all of a sudden it snowballs. We're doing the same, what feels like the same thing, except having a larger impact in returns.
No, I love this. Awesome. Well, let's move off the Ryan Reynolds story because I feel like, man, like I said, we could talk about this all day. Okay. That down.
Yes.
Let's move over to our next topic. So, Avita, I know you got either some questions for me or you got an article for us because I'm interested to see.
I'm not the article type, so we're going to skip the article.
Okay, we'll skip it.
I went for more of the style you took last week.
Okay,
so
what are we doing here?
A main overarching topic or theme, and then I have 5 options, and you're gonna rank them. And I think this is gonna be suitable to you specifically. So we're ranking 5 Marvel movies.
Okay. Okay. I gotta get my thoughts together. Okay, I'm with you.
So they're basics. You're gonna know these way more than I do. Okay, first one is Guardians of the Galaxy. First one. I know there's series in these.
4.
Okay, interesting. Okay, next one is The Avengers.
Which one?
The first
original?
One. Original.
3.
Ooh, okay. Which, by the way, Avengers, I guess, came out in 2012.
I know, that's how long I've been nerding out on this stuff.
No, but it doesn't feel like, I know there's been what is it called? Like a series to it or whatnot. Like there's been others, but I'm like, when I saw that, I was like,
yeah.
Really that long ago? It doesn't seem like it.
Midnight release.
Right. Okay. Next one is suitable to this. Deadpool, the first one.
5.
Really?
Yeah, 5. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm like, after this, I'm gonna have to know what's not on here.
Yeah.
Okay. Captain America, Civil War.
There's one more I'm hoping you'll say, so I'm going to say 1, just because I don't know what this last one is.
What are you hoping I say?
You're not going to change it, right?
No, I have it written down on paper. I can show you if I need to.
Okay, so actually number 1 would be Captain America Winter Soldier is my first one.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay, I had as the 5th and final option was Black Panther.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good 2. I'm good with that. Okay. I'm good with those 1 and 2. So
interesting.
Okay, without, because I'll get really nerdy into this. Deadpool was good. Came out of nowhere. I wasn't a huge Deadpool fan growing
Mm.
up, so it was just a different character
Did
for
you
me.
see the second Deadpool?
I thought the first was better than the second, but the Deadpool Wolverine was really good.
Okay.
Guardians was good, not really, there's all right. It wasn't necessarily
Mm,
my cup of tea, so to speak.
okay, that's fair.
Um, what was number three?
You had
What did I say?
Avengers.
Or the
It was either
yeah,
Avengers.
the original Avengers. I feel like that's a good number three because that's
Okay.
kind of what kicked off everything.
Yeah.
And even to this day, like if it comes on, I'll watch it and I'll be like, damn, this is almost 13 years ago now. Like this, you could just tell it's
Yeah.
it's a little bit older.
Yeah.
Black Panther's for sure one of my favorite ones. That's
Well, that
just
was a good one.
again Ryan Coogler did Sinners.
I didn't realize that when you're saying these
Yeah,
names, I'm like I didn't know
yeah.
that, but as you started listing the
I
movies earlier, I was like,
I'm
oh,
about to teach you. I'm about to put you on game. I'm about to teach you all this stuff.
we're
And
learning.
then
We're learning.
Captain America: Civil War is just one of the best ones, like hands down. That was one of the
Okay.
best movies. But before Endgame came out, that's just one of the best ones.
Solid. Okay, cool. See, that's why I was like, I
I
tried to
like
pick something that would be
I like it.
cool.
I like it though. I
That
like
was
it though. All right, that down. We're gonna move over to a story that I saw.
okay.
So 60 Minutes executive producer Bill Owens resigns. So you're probably like, dang, Casey, 60 Minutes? I don't really care about 60 Minutes. The reason I thought this was interesting because I wanted to kind of get your take on a few things because
Mhm.
we're at the phase now of my life where in your life where legends are starting to retire. So I
Hmm.
wanted to get your opinion. What was a bigger show growing up?
Cool.
Price is Right with Bob Barker,
Oh.
60 Minutes, Wheel of Fortune with Pat Sajak, or Jeopardy with Alex Trebek.
Oh man, that's
Those are
hard.
like those are four shows that have been on forever.
Well, I also
Forever.
like so this is relative though, right? Because it's gonna show my age.
Mhm,
Because one, I know all of those. So if you don't,
mhm,
young. But I also feel like I say that in the sense of if I was younger or a kid, just because like I knew 60 Minutes was big, but it wasn't like
mhm.
I wasn't
Wasn't
watching
yours.
it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It
Yeah.
didn't like now realizing the impact that has being around as long as it's been and things like that. Like I see that much better than I would have as a kid, where I'm like, honestly, when you said that, I picture like Sunday evenings, quiet in the
Mhm.
house, time for a
Yeah.
nap.
It takes you back, right?
Like I was
It takes you back.
yeah, it was not riveting to me at the time. You know, it was just something that was on the background. Parents would watch it or whatever. But I don't know. I guess I'd probably say so. We said what? Jeopardy, Price is Right, 60 Minutes, or what was the other
Wheel of
one?
Fortune. Wheel of Fortune.
I almost feel like Price is Right.
Mhm. That sounds about honestly, like
Before the changes though, because I feel like back
yeah,
then I'm thinking of it
yeah.
at its prime and like maybe that wasn't the
Mhm.
prime, but to me it
No,
felt like
that was prime.
Bob Barker on there. Like
Mhm.
that was it was everywhere all the time. Like people loved it.
No, yeah. I think I would say
But I don't know, those others were
I would
pretty
I would
new.
say Price is Right as well. I mean, it because the reason I say those shows because they take you back to a specific time in your childhood, right? I
Yeah.
don't when I think about those shows, I don't necessarily think about adulthood. I think about childhood,
No. Yeah.
and
For
I
me,
think
both
about
this that way too though. It took
yeah,
me that's when like both take me to a very specific different
yeah,
place.
and I think about like being back with my grandma on the couch, 9, 10, 11 years old, eight, well, sorry, maybe like 6, 7, 8 years old, watching Price is Right, and then bidding on the stuff, this, that, and the other. So yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. So it's just crazy to see I'm at the spot in generation where things are starting to shift.
Yeah.
So
I also think I'm gonna comment on that too, because I think it is a generational thing, right? Because I think
yes,
we are familiar with those shows or familiar with these people, and I also think this shows. I mean, heck, when you even think of like companies like Blockbuster or something like that, that these
mm,
companies that as things have developed or shifted have either become obsolete or just not as popular, and so other things are kind of taking that lead. So some of it's like people might not understand in younger generations because it's
that's
like
true.
that's not been around, or we're not sitting around the TV, but you're watching Hulu or your Prime account or whatever, versus like we picture watching like just regular TV, and like this is what was on. There was these options, and now there's so many out there. So I feel like there's a shift there too, that like it's kind of an impact of, is something like that going to take its place? And probably not, I would imagine. I think that's why it's so
those shows are, when they say pillar in the community, those shows are like pillar in the entertainment community. They are.
Yeah.
And I think they will continue to go on even if they change host and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
or it might change platforms, you know what I mean? Like you might see something else come over and take over in a different light.
Okay. That down, I want to talk entertainment one more time, and then we're going to get out of here for the day. Okay. But before I do that, there is a question. I just saw it that I have to ask you. Random question. Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer? Did you watch either of those movies, Avita?
I was like, do you even know me? You definitely didn't know what I did last summer.
Okay, so this is this.
How about Casey? Which would you pick?
So this started. Okay, so the horror stuff. This started when you were younger. Then
I should say I know the names.
Okay.
Does that count for anything?
No, it's just funny because they're remaking. They've remaking both those movies now, and I just remember being so scared of them growing up, and now I'm like, these movies were lame. Like, why?
Really?
Why are they so big?
Scary movies are like not my thing. Not as a kid, not as an adult. So that's so funny.
Okay. All right. Last thing I'm gonna say. So, Avita, we are approaching what's called award season in the entertainment space. Okay. So, you've heard me talk about it, but this year I'm going to see what I can do to kind of get you a part of it as well. Okay. So I'm just going to read through a couple names, and then I'll let you know kind of what these mean.
Okay.
So the Oscars, which is in a sense the Academy Awards, right? The Oscar Awards, that's the big one for movies. Okay. So the Oscars happen every year in March. So that's the last award show. Okay,
so that's already passed.
That's like the end of the season. That's the end of the season. Okay. So you have your Screen Actors Guild Awards, so which are SAG Awards. You have like your Emmy Awards, which is like television. We're not going to go through all of them, but you have your Critics' Choice Awards, which is like the people choose. Tony Awards. There's a whole bunch of awards. But long story short, the season is going to start in pretty much beginning of May.
Okay.
So what that means is,
what comes up first?
The first one that we'll actually watch. I actually might be working the Academy Country Music Awards. Actually, I think there's something out here. I think I'm actually working that one. But the one that we'll probably actually watch. Let me go through these.
Oh, we can circle back. I just thought it was like you need. And I thought okay.
Honestly, the Emmy Awards, because the Emmys are like TV shows, but that probably won't be like till August or September.
Okay.
And then then they take break for the holidays, and pretty much beginning of the year, like January, February, March, like those are like the big ones. Okay. So when that time comes, usually it's like the same shows or movies nominated for each season. Okay. So we're gonna get you on game.
That's fine. To be fair too, I'm like, I've heard these names. I'm not clueless.
Oh yeah, you're not clueless.
But I don't. But it's not something that I usually am like putting aside time for, or I don't know them well enough to be like, ooh, I know exactly.
I'm gonna put on your calendar. Watch this movie, 1 to 4.
Some people have a content calendar. I guess
No, but to be fair, guys, Avita is crushing it with our content. So she's creating our shorts and doing a bunch of other stuff. So she's a busy woman. So cool. That said, I think we are wrapping today. I really enjoyed talking about Ryan Reynolds. I really, the more I read about it, the more I look into it. Even, as we were talking about it now, I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. And how could I apply that to what I'm doing now? And, instead of trying to be all over the place, like he's very strategic with his approach and his opportunities. And, obviously we don't know behind the scenes, but I just really, kind of taking that. I was like, okay, I can definitely do something very similar to that in my level. So
absolutely
excited about that. So what do you got coming up?
Oh man. Nothing crazy, just sticking to the grind. I feel like we made it through holidays. I'm
We did.
like or
We
a
did. No,
holiday, I'm like, I
it's
feel like last weekend was chaotic, so I'm okay with this week
it's
just, head down, stick with it. Um, sounds like
summertime vibes.
yeah,
Summertime vibes now.
friends are in town, so maybe making some time to visit and things of that nature for the weekend. But other than that, yeah, nothing crazy at the moment. How about for you?
Sound NBA playoffs is here, so I go from watching movies and TVs to live action basketball.
I did actually watch a playoff game last night.
Hey, look, hey, what?
Just saying.
I
And
feel
actually, we got to bring that up next time though, because we were also watching funny bits associated with players, and I feel like
oh,
we need to
let's
do
do
a
that.
podcast on that because
Let's do
it
that. I love that.
is too
Yes,
funny and it is very fun.
let's definitely do that. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. So,
Yes. Okay,
well,
let's
cool.
plan.
We awesome. We appreciate you taking the time to check us out today. Vita, have a good one. Talk soon.
Absolutely. We'll see.